time for Inside the Gamecocks, the show with Phil Mullinax and J.C. Sherwood.
So, how many of you would say you speak English fairly well, but with some difficulty?
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
You play to win the game.
Now, let's take it away, J.C. and Phil.
Inside the Gamecocks, the show. J.C. Sherwood, Phil Mullinax, here with you on a high energy Thursday. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of discussion today, right?
Yet another day we find ourselves with absolutely nothing to talk about.
Yeah, the topic du jour. News last night, strong indications that South Carolina head coach Shane Beamer has targeted Dole Loggins, a tight ends coach from Arkansas. He's not just the tight ends coach at Arkansas. You know, he's got a long history in the National Football League. He's been the offensive coordinator for 4 different franchises. Coached 10 years up there. Was the coordinator for the Titans, the Bears, the Dolphins, and the New York Jets. Not the strongest franchises, right? I would say, you know, and certainly not. I would like for people to keep that in perspective. You know, when you kind of judge the resume, it's not that strong, but he did work in a lot of places. This was a name I heard a long time ago, just kind of kicking it around with folks. He is, I will say this, as upset as some fans are out there about it. And look, I'm kind of I'm a bit surprised by this, and I'll get into, you know, my personal opinion about it as we move on. But you know, I'll say there's a stark contrast between the feeling in the building about this guy, and these are from folks that were not sad to see the former guy go. And, you know, I know those of you on the Big Spur automatically are sitting there thinking Justin Stepp and making the Arkansas connection. I can tell you that didn't come from that end of things at all. You know, this was not a Justin Stepp pushing his guy from Arkansas thing. This guy knows a lot of the staff. He's visited with the Carolina staff in the offseason a couple of times. So he's well known around the building and also known by some former Gamecock coaches, even back in the Spur era, that speak very highly of him. Some coaches you guys would really, you know, some folks that you guys really respect, you know, that are revered in the history of South Carolina assistant coaching lore. So there's a big gap, and I'm kind of in the middle. I don't know. I'm actually not in the middle. I don't know where exactly I'm at with my opinion on this. All I know is things yesterday, Gamecock football had a ton of momentum. We've talked a lot about NIL collectives this week. I can tell you that after Ray Tanner released that video last night, right before this news broke, money was pouring into Carolina Rise. And then all of a sudden this news broke, and I think a lot of people kind of went on it. And I know that faith is a hard thing. We all want to kind of get past some of these hires around here that have been made that were kind of based on faith and not collegiate track record or a good track record. You know, if this hire ends up being that way, it's another one of those, because there's no he hasn't coached in college, you know, and called plays in college and ran a college offense. So this is not a, you know, and I always have a hard and fast rule that, you know, because there's so many coaches that are great in college that go to the NFL and get cut and have to come back, especially on the offensive side of the ball. You know, ask Coach Spurrier about that. I mean, I always say it's the same sport, but different game. And so, you know, I don't necessarily think that a lack of production on the Chicago Bears. The Jets, I don't necessarily think that dooms the guy, but I also don't know, you know, like I said, there's no track record. I'll tell you, Arkansas fans and Arkansas folks I talk to that some believe this is going to happen within the week, believe that he is was going to replace Kendall Browse when he left. And a lot of them were just fine with it. Now, he's an Arkansas grad. He's one of them. But is beloved. I can also tell you that he's a great recruiter. And there's no question about that. I can also tell you that a lot of the players that, from what I was told last night, a lot of the players that are thinking of returning, the key players for next year, were pretty fired up about this guy, along with some recruits. And a lot of times it's about the Jimmies and Joes, not the X's and O's, right? You got to have players. So those are some positives. But there is a big gap there. And so I guess we're going to have to figure out how to fill the gap, fill in the gap. So the Nana Sports chat box is obviously, we had 110 people in it before we started the stream. You're good. There wasn't even a good morning this morning. Okay,
it's just
the first one was there's not. Hey, what's up, guys?
No, Ryan's in here. Yeah, I've given up. I'm just here to eat popcorn and watch the riot in the chat box. Well, welcome in.
Welcome in.
Because it's lively. Yeah. I referred to this on Twitter as the Faith of a Poppy Seed episode because I wouldn't think that, Beamer would ask for more.
Yeah.
But, how far are we willing to extend our faith here? I at this point, JC, I think Connor Shaw kind of said it fairly well in that we are presupposing outcomes a bit. Keith said it well on his podcast yesterday. We aren't the most patient of fan bases. We are dedicated, though.
Yeah.
But we'll just have to see. We still have yet to have an official release, although all signs are pointing to Loggins.
Yeah, it's and like I said, I don't, and look, it's 90. I put it at 97% last night. But there's that 3% chance, sometimes you sit there and you don't read the room, and then you read the room and things. But I don't know, look, philosophically, I don't think fans should be choosing the next offensive coordinator, nor should I, nor should you, nor should anybody. Shane Beamer needs to choose the offensive coordinator he feels comfortable with. That's the bottom line. That's what he gets paid to make decisions and do. But I just kind of understand that a lot of folks around here have seen this movie before, and with some of the public comments about, we've got tons of great interest and blah blah blah, and then you come back with a guy that you kind of stick to the NFL thing. There's no college track record calling plays and all that. I'm sure he's a good guy. I don't know that he's a terrible coach. I just don't know. So it's a hard. Given what this fan base has been through, it's a hard thing to swallow, and I understand that. I understand. You kind of look back and go, well, the last two games were awesome, but then you lost to 3 6-6 football teams, and the offense struggled mightily in bizarre fashion, and so it's kind of like when Will Muschamp brought Kurt Roper from Florida. People didn't really realize Roper had only coached there 1 year, and they did improve, and he had a defensive back at quarterback most of the season. They just heard offensive coordinator from Florida, and boom, that was it. He turned out to not be good. But it's kind of like that, if I were Muschamp back then, I bet if he had it to do over again, he would have just not hired a single offensive coach from Florida, period. Defense fine, special teams okay, but not offense. But that's the deal there. There's rumors of Juice Wells going pro. I last night, I was told no. I said the guys are coming back and all that, and they're excited about it. So in the building, like I said, there's a different opinion than what's out there. People are whoa. Whoa, this is weird. Over under on JC meltdowns today, telling us to just be patient. LOL. Honestly, guys, I can't sit there I mean, I think it's bad if this becomes like a social media riot or protest. I think it's bad that it's bad if, like yesterday, somebody took back their $18 they gave to Carolina Rise. That doesn't hurt anybody but the players.
Right.
And that's going, if too much of that does take place, some very good football players are going to be out. And it's not going to be because Dowell Loggins is the next OC. I mean, it becomes what's called a toxic environment, and you don't want that. And unfortunately, these days, social media, you can't insulate the players from it. That thing. Rodney said, JC, you couldn't go hire a good old Mac OC. Yeah, I mean, that's what I thought. Jeff Fowler says, after last night, I love TBS and the show anymore, even more Gamecocks and Semper Fi.
That's right. Thank you for your service, sir.
Yeah. GC fan says, is he related to Kenny Loggins?
That's what I mentioned last night. I was like, is Messina coming too? Oh, wait. Hold on.
Meet me halfway across the sky.
Yeah, that's right.
Man, that was a pretty solid song from Over the Top. By
Over
Kenny
the
Loggins.
Top. That's right.
I like it. Kevin says, JC, how was karaoke? Did it get interrupted? Yeah, I didn't get to do karaoke last night. U-Hop says he worked at a lot of places because Adam Gase took him around the league. I did notice he worked with Adam Gase a lot, but some coaches work with other coaches a lot. Man, would that make him a guy that worked for the guy? I use that phrase too a lot.
Yeah, that's the other side of it. It's like, well, what if he does come in here and try to run the Bryles offense? Then he'd be the guy that worked for the guy that worked for the guy. I'm
the latest sense that Connor Shaw worked with him in the NFL, didn't he? Yes, had good things to say. And Stacy makes the point. He probably has the support of Kitchens and Jody Wright. He has the support of the whole staff. He wasn't coaching teams with a lot of talent, so maybe it wasn't the X's and O's, but the Jimmies and Joes that were the problems. Yeah, and again, I'll caution against, there's a big difference between NFL and college. I'm not going to say that. I think that because there's been no college track record, right? Okay, what do you kind of look at as latching on besides faith, right, and hope? What do you latch on to? When you look at the resume. I tend to just ignore what happened in the NFL. I think the NFL focus and all that's fine, but I just don't know, and I don't think this place is like an NFL focused program like it once was. But I do think like maybe some of the emphasis on it, I don't know, So I tend to just kind of discount whatever happened in that league, and move forward. Right, with it, but there's no college track record. I mean, there's Arkansas people that were convinced he was going to take over for Kendall Briles when he left. There's coaches in the building at Carolina, people that have football that love the guy.
Yeah, that were ready for him because they thought Briles was off the rails towards the end of the season, and were ready for this guy to come in.
Yeah, Arkansas was ready to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Todd says, "Come on, JC, this is garbage, and you know it." Well, look, man, I'm not here to defend anything. I'm just laying out the gap, right? So that's the deal there. Posting stats from his NFL team to those teams that just weren't good. Yeah, he wasn't all that good. So anyway, JC, what exactly does he have to sell to potential recruits? He wasn't successful in the NFL and has never done it in college. I don't know, but just go look at his commit list from Arkansas. Really good recruiter. So, that's one of those things where just like look at the proof. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the pitch is. What was Satterfield's pitch to all those quarterbacks? Seriously, on that. All right, we're going to take a break and we'll be back.
Just as you're
Jeez, real professional, guys. That's my fault.
Golfers and wannabe golfers, former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor is now a full-time golf instructor in the Midlands of South Carolina. in-person golf lessons are held at the Country Club of Lexington. Half hour, hour, on course 9 or 18 holes. And if you're outside of South Carolina, Meredith conducts virtual lessons. Just send in your golf swing for analysis. Gift cards are available for in-person 1-hour lessons. Connect on Twitter at Mayor Taylor and find her online at McKellarEnterprises.org. Her email is on the website. Schedule your next lesson today with Meredith Taylor, former Gamecock golfer.
Gamecock Nation, do you need a place to stay for the big game? Many hotel booking engines keep all the commissions, but at Fan Plans, you support inside the Gamecocks, still earn your hotel loyalty points, and you receive an email with direct confirmation from the hotel. Whether you are visiting Columbia to cheer on Carolina or hitting the road to follow the team, get in the stands with Fan Plans.
This is Coach O. Now back to the show. Go Tigers in the soul.
Welcome back to Inside the Gamecocks, the show, everybody. Presented to you by Express Sunrooms of Columbia. Give John Barber a call, 803-446-4662 for your next sunroom addition to your home. And first hour of the show is brought to you by the Cindy Searfoss and the Coldwell Banker Realty team here in the Upstate, right out of Spartanburg. Give Cindy a call for your upstate residential real estate needs, 864-414-5271. As we roll on with Faith Thursday. Faith and Hope Thursday.
I think I'm going to call it Faith of a Poppy Seed. That's a great title for
Faith
today's
of
show.
a Poppy Seed. Yeah, I threw it out there on Twitter. I was like, he wouldn't ask for anything more.
Yeah.
But I don't know. A lot of what we go through, JC, just seems to harken back to our experiences with the previous coaching staff.
Yeah.
And as best as I can, I'm trying to not frame all of my thoughts and feelings about what Beamer is doing with the poison that was the Muschamp situation. So, while we say give him a shot and have faith, and it's just like it, and then the other side of it is we'll remember what Kurt Roper did, and we had this terrible run of coaches with zero,
sizzle,
experience and no pop sizzle, and we're hot right now, and we should have been able to pull a big name, but there's a lot of things that we don't know about what's going on. We don't know the conversations that Beamer's had. We don't know what the players truly think. We do understand that he is more culture focused, I think, than he is not, and would tend to weigh a good fit in the program over what we would consider to be a splash hire. And then there's a cynical side of me that said they, spend all the money keeping Pete Limbo, and this is the guy we got.
I think
I know that's not the case. I know
that's the deal there. But he, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not going to sit here and burn down the palace or whatever and all that. And I don't think anybody should show up with in front of that long building with pitchforks and protest and all that. That's always a bad look, and it tends to backfire in people's faces, fans' faces or anybody's, myself included. But I'm not going to sit here. I can't. There's nothing I can point to that says, other than faith and what people I trust that really don't ever BS me. Both inside and outside the football building and football program, that's all I have to go on, and I'll pass it along and, let you know. I'm not going to sit here and stand on the table for anybody. I can tell you that, it's not, the offense is probably going to, structurally and stuff look a lot like it did the last 2 games of the season. As far as what they're going to do, like when you look out there and see the Gamecocks play, what's it going to look like? They're not getting away from that, and they're certainly not going back to the 1 million playbook. That's not happening. And I know it's scary because you look and say NFL guy. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, that's right. Red flag, red flag, red flag.
I mean, I'm just sitting there going, man, of all the things, I mean, like if this guy, I'd be all right. Let's say this guy was like at Hofstra or somewhere, D2 ball up in the Northeast and lit it up, as a coordinator there. And it was, maybe D2, but he lit it up. I mean, G.A. Mangus coached at Delaware Valley and lit it up. And I think he's pretty good play caller, and then the guy had gone to the NFL and called plays for Adam Gase or whatever. And those were very bad football teams. I'd kind of be fired up about, well, he's coming back and, here we go. But there's not. So if you're out there and you kind of understood what the issue was under Satterfield, I know it scares you. I mean, because it's like, well, I thought they were going to do something. And you look at what they did differently the last 2 games of the season, and you're like, well, everybody wants that to continue. And, people reassured me that, that it definitely wasn't going to be, like the Sat attack, so to speak. And all that. So that's what.
Well, I think it's foolish to think that that's what we're getting, right? I mean, we're not getting Satterfield 2.0. It's not 1 million plays, and it isn't. This guy thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. You're not hearing a lot of that about him. We just don't know very much about him, is the thing, and I think that's what's scary is that we've been hearing all these big names being, bandied about that we do understand. We have seen a track record, and we do know what these guys are. And they are not the ones that are coming. So we're, just first, it's baffling. And then it doesn't seem to quite add up with what we've been told. And, we've been asked to extend some faith and hope again. And here's my thing, though. I'm willing to give it. I think Shane's earned it. I think the last 2 performances on the field prove that he is a strong enough leader to get what he wants and have the team that he wants. And until we see otherwise, we just got to talk about it and think about it for the next few months.
I mean, look, it's not going to do anybody any good with all the momentum that's taking place. Like the hire, dislike the hire, most dislike the hire. I understand that, but it's not going to do anybody any good if this is the guy to not give him a shot, just because, any coach that comes in here is going to need support, and you can kind of upset the balance of everything with players, so think about the players. I mean, if you're going to, and I'm not talking about complaining or questioning. I'm not saying don't do that because there's a lot of questions, right? I'm saying the open, hostility toward the entire program, expressing that on social media, that hurts the players. And then that, people sometimes during the Muschamp era, people all wanted to know that, why did the players not play with a lot of confidence sometimes? And it was because people were so mad at Will Muschamp, they kind of got out there and ran some with some negative, extremely negative narratives because they were mad and rightfully so. I mean, half the fan base didn't want him hired to begin with. I mean, I knew he would have to win and win and endear himself a bit. And they're so mad at Will Muschamp that, the players got caught up in it. And I think that my advice to Gamecock fans would be not saying, we need to go, have you have a celebration and a parade if Dowell Loggins is the guy, and like a World War II victory parade or anything on Assembly Street. Nobody needs to do that. But I would just be careful about letting a mystery, yet another mystery hire at OC steal your joy for the good things that are happening with the program. And there's been times around here where there's been a hire that people were like, why? Okay, why? And there wasn't anything else good going on. There was, recruits flipping and, no winning over Tennessee and no winning over Clemson, and the Gamecocks weren't the talk of college football, and there wasn't a sold-out bowl game with Notre Dame coming up, and there weren't a lot of key guys in the transfer portal trying to make decisions, and, the stadium wasn't packed, and Gamecocks weren't undefeated at night at home. I mean, think about all those things. I mean, and I think there's a lot of past, like Phil said, past poison everybody's getting out of their system. And I understand that, myself included. This is the last thing, from my standpoint, I wanted to have happen. Last thing I wanted to sit and go through another offseason where I had to kind of twist off in knots to defend the unknown, right? I'm not saying defending bad or good. I'm defending the unknown. And that's not something I wanted to do at all. So
no, don't
think yours truly is sitting here as the North Korean media spokesperson. Like you ever seen the lady on North Korea media? She's awesome. She's like, she kind of sounds like Todd Ellis a little bit.
She's like, yeah, that's just
touchdown, Kim Jong-un. Oh, shoot me with artillery.
Yeah, I mean, I'm nobody's out here trying to call Beamer dear leader or anything like that, but I don't know, because we were sold on Satterfield, being this brilliant offensive mind, right? That's what he came with. That's how it was built, and he's going to bring this NFL style offense that's just going to be so innovative and creative. It isn't necessarily what we're hearing here. Also, the other side of the coin is, JC, it was like you hire somebody and you think you know exactly what you're getting. Case in point, Kelly, out of UCLA.
Chip Kelly.
He was hired. Yeah. Chip Kelly. Everybody thought, oh, man, we're bringing the Oregon offense to L.A. That is not what you got.
And Chip actually he kind of Satterfielded it because they lost because he brought everything back from the Eagles and 49ers, which I think makes this even more scary because now look, the guy's been at Arkansas 2 years working with Kendall Browse. So, this happened with Dan Werner. Dan Werner was this big pro style guy. He never coached in the NFL, but had some terrible offenses under Coach O at Ole Miss. He was my OC the first time and averaged 14 points a game. Second time he averaged 34. Under Hugh Freeze, he came back in and ran Hugh Freeze's RP. So he evolved. But I've said that before about offensive coordinators. I've used every example with previous guys. RB says, absolutely, JC, can this guy fly the plane? We have no clue. No, we don't.
No,
we don't. I can't. There's no film where I can, from college, where I can sit there and point and say, yeah. So people think he can. And then that's the key, too. I mean, if you have a guy that's a culture fit that's different than the old OC, that's going to structure things different and all that, can you call it on game day? And that's something we don't. I mean, he's got experience calling football plays in a game, a lot, but not in college. So we'll see. I don't know. Phil, we got to get a break, right?
Yep. Let's hit one more. Yeah, we got Chris Phillips about to jump in, so we've got this one a little early. Yep.
Hey, man. Are you sick and tired of your business computer guy?
Yes, he takes forever to call me back and doesn't always respond to the requests.
Yeah, same here. I'm paying him good money. I constantly have issues, and I'm worried he's not backing up my network and securing it properly.
You know what, Phil? Let's ask Stone Blanton.
Hey, JC and Phil, if you want a solution to your IT problems, give Heritage Digital a call. Our boy Matt Odom has a low-cost, one-price solution that will get you running right. Call 843-699-1001 or heritagedigital.com and ask for Matt. He will hook you up today and tell them Stone sent you.
If you're looking to sell or buy multifamily property right here in South Carolina, the Burgesson team of RE/MAX at the Lake can help you get to closing fast and easy. Adam and Derek Burgesson both are very proud Gamecocks and are more than happy to assist you with any of your commercial real estate needs all across the state. You can email Adam at aburgesson@remax.net. That's ABERGESON at remax.net to get your next deal underway. The Burgesson team, proud sponsors of Inside the Gamecocks.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help?
I used to be president of the United States, and I love the show with Phil and JC.
Welcome back to Inside the Gamecocks, the show, everybody. Brought to you by Express Sunrooms in Columbia. First hour brought to you by Cindy Servoss, Coldwell Banker Kane Realty Team here in the Upstate. We are joined now by Chris Phillips on the McKellar Enterprises guest line. Chris, you know, I'm sure, I know you've been watching Twitter burn down like the rest of us, and you know, I can't say that it's not completely unfounded. How are you doing otherwise today?
No, first things first, guys, appreciate you having me on, and let me know about if I sound a little bit different. We actually upgraded the interface. I'm still kind of playing with the volume level, so we should avoid some of the technical issues we've had in previous shows, at least hopefully. But no, it's funny. Last night I thought, you know what, this would be a good night to kind of take some time away from Twitter and go grab a nice dinner in downtown Greenville and just, you know, kind of put the phone down for a little bit. And boy, I was wrong because I got back on my phone about 11:30 or so, and all hell had broken loose. So no, it was I guess the rumors are, you know, gaining a little bit more traction, and it sounds like the Gamecocks might have their next OC lined up. And again, I know we'll get into it more in depth here in just a second. I know JC and I will talk into it more in depth. And it's funny, I've had people text me. Literally, I had my buddy John text me right before I jumped on here. He said, "Good luck with the show today." I was like, what's he was like, "Just good luck. You're probably going to need it." So I would say, putting it lightly, I don't know that folks are taking the news well. I think that's probably a good way to put it. So yeah.
To say the least.
To say the least.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remain calm. Like I really am.
Same. I was like, keep calm and carry on. That's how I'm trying to.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I like I said, this is one of those deals where looking at it, there's a big gap between, you know, football folks and including some coaches that I think we all know here. I think you know too, Chris, that were here previously that speak highly of the guy, that are legendary coaches around here.
Right.
That we all would trust if they stood up and said yes. I mean, there's a contingent of Arkansas fans that want him to take over for Kendall Browns.
Yeah.
There's inside the building even people that were extremely honest about Marcus Satterfield, and I think some maybe quietly pulled a cupcake out of their drawer and ate it when he left. You know, they're fired up about this guy. He's a huge upgrade. You have Connor Shaw coming out, and I know Connor Shaw said nice things about Kurt Roper, but look, man, Connor Shaw's the GOAT. You know, you got to at least take what he says into account. So I you know, it's another hire, Chris, that I think it's not necessarily about this guy. I think it's about current momentum, the constant fear of having the rug pulled out from under you. A little bit Satterfield PTSD, Muschamp PTSD, and the fact that this is another hire where you kind of before next year against North Carolina, you have no idea what's going to happen.
Right.
And anything you hear, you know, is going to be based on faith at this point because there's no collegiate track record. There's just four very bad stints for different reasons in the NFL.
Yeah, well, I know I was going to say, JC, I know a couple of screenshots have floated around on Twitter from some things you have said, and I think you've done a good job handling it and just kind of – because I'm sort of the same way. Like, I'm not going to be a guilty till proven innocent guy. That's not how I operate, and I really do believe that Shane Beamer – I mean, he's earned the benefit of the doubt. He doesn't need me to tell him that. He's the head football coach. He gets paid to be the head football coach and make the decisions a head football coach makes. He doesn't need my approval, your approval, anybody's approval.
No.
But – when you finish the season the way they did, right? I mean, he's earned the benefit of the doubt to kind of operate in the way which he wants. I mean, I will say at the same time, I said, when this search first started that, hey, I think it would be beneficial and maybe you need to get a guy that instills confidence in the fan base and the program, and people look at the hire and they say they'd be surprised if it didn't work out. So I don't blame people for being underwhelmed. If this really does play out and it comes to fruition and he's the next offensive coordinator, I mean, it's Beamer ball to the moon. I'm behind Shane Beamer 110%, but I'm not going to sit here in front and act like I'm not underwhelmed. I'm not going to sit here in front and act like I'm not questioning the decision and questioning the hire. And again, Shane Beamer has shit out more X's and O's than I will ever know, but it's like you mentioned, it's fair or unfair. It's the PTSD of having an incompetent OC for basically 2 full years, and then Will Muschamp before that, and the incompetent OCs we saw, and just we've been struggling on offense for so long. This Loggins, is that it, or is it Loggins, or however?
I think it's Loggins, like Kenny Loggins.
Loggins. Okay.
It's Kenny's brother.
Yeah. So Loggins. So, I mean, Loggins may turn out to be an all-star slam dunk type of hire, however you want to phrase it. But I think most people within the fan base were just really hoping you would parlay the momentum you've had at the end of this season and get a true slam dunk hire off the jump, where, like you said, you don't have to kind of be sitting there guessing and just hoping and praying, fingers crossed, that it plays out the way we all hope it does. Because again, we all know how important this second OC is for Shane Beamer. So, I mean, again, we'll see. I'm going to wait until it's actually officially official, until I, kind of lose my cool, if you will. But, I don't blame people for looking at this and kind of scratching the head. I mean, I'll tell you guys, I didn't think I would have to do a Google search on our next OC. Like, I didn't think I'd have to. I didn't think I'd be seeing a headline from JC or Brad and be like, who is that? I just.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody I trust, very close to the program, and we frequently had some conversations about what direction to go if things didn't work out with Mark Satterfield, and I heard this name a while back, and I thought, well, he works for Kendall Browse. He's probably like a gunslinging dude from Texas, and then all this other stuff. So,
and again, I trust Beamer. I mean, I think you just have to, he's your head football coach. If you can't trust him to hire an OC, then maybe you got the wrong guy in that position. And I like to believe we do have the right guy in that position. So, you have to trust it, and you got to let Beamer make his own decisions. And there are consequences to every decision, good and bad. And hopefully you get a lot more good than bad, obviously. So
there have been good coaches at the school who have made bad hires and coordinators too.
Right.
Reminder, y'all. Yeah.
Yeah, ask Steve Spurrier how important good assistants are. And so I think that kind of when I looked at his resume, though, it was like, because I was thinking, oh, all right, I can get behind anybody. I mean, I was like, okay, Arkansas, great. And then I looked and I saw, 2 years in college and all this NFL stuff, and I just, and maybe it doesn't matter. I mean, but it feels like, it feels like we hear about the NFL way too much around here sometimes, and especially when, it's just kind of funny that the sides of the ball that struggle tend to be the ones that emphasize those types of things, i.e. the Muschamp defense, i.e. the Satterfield offense.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like you're going down a similar path, doesn't it? Like, we're hearing a lot of similar things, and I don't think anybody ever wants to hear the words like pro style ever again. Like, I
was told last night, it's essentially they're going to stick with what they. Right. I mean, they're not dumb. They're going to kind of stick with. They're going to stick with what they've been doing the last 2 games. It's going to be very kind of the same. It's a different guy calling it, and then B, they feel like Loggins is a good fit for Spencer Rattler, Marshawn Lloyd, Juice Wells. And I think a lot of times it's about the Jimmies and Joes more than the X's and O's guys. I mean, those 3 guys come back. I don't care if Teddy Ruxpin's calling the plays, as long as it's not Marcus Satterfield, right? Yes, I just said I would have Teddy Ruxpin call the plays over Marcus. Not Marcus before the guardrails, right? I think Carolina's got a chance to be very successful. And I think that it's probably more critical with the portal out there, with recruiting, with all that, to kind of maybe focus more on that right now than this, especially given the unknown nature of it. You're not be able to figure it out, good or bad. We're obviously going to talk about it, but I think if you get the Jimmies and Joes back, I mean, there's really, a chance for success, I think, right away.
Yeah, I mean, JC, you and I also talked off air before the show in regards to, I mean, these Arkansas folks, they speak very highly of this guy. So, again, it's selfishly from my perspective and from many others, is it the name that you wanted? Again, if this does play out, it happens, but it sounds like the things are in motion. Is it the name you wanted? Not necessarily, but again, Arkansas people speak highly of him. People within the Gamecocks football building speak highly of him, and Shane Beamer approves of him. And again, it's just like, at this point, do you trust Beamer or do you not? I understand what we've been through with the OCs. I'm not discrediting that, but I'm not going to say burn it all down just because of if this is the hire or whatever. You give it an opportunity to play off. And I just wonder too with Beamer. I was thinking about this just before I jumped on. I just wonder with Beamer. A lot of people want the name, the proven commodity. Do you think Beamer's a guy that, because he's such a young coach and he was given an opportunity, do you think he also he likes to do that? Like give maybe, I'm not saying that Loggins is a rookie coach, but give guys opportunities like that versus the old savvy veterans. Like, do you think that's kind of his MO at this point? Because I don't know.
If you look at like everything he's done staff wise since Mike Bobo left, and Bobo's not that old, man. Bobo's our age, I think, my age, I think. But he's been 20-year play caller in the SEC. But if you look at the kind of the pattern since that happened, it's been up and comers. Clayton White. I'll admit, I don't think I mentioned his name once on the Big Spur before he was hired. He was on a list I had at the bottom called Guy from Western Kentucky because I was looking at their stats. And I was in line at Disney at the dang on Star Wars. The tweet came through from Feldman. He was hired. But, so I'll admit that kind of came out of nowhere. But, yeah, I do think that when you look at the hires he's made on the staff, Chris, it does kind of fit that up-and-comer pattern. Torian Gray's probably an exception to that. Pete Limbo's obviously I think it's only a second stint in Power 5. So, and sometimes that works out really well. I mean, I don't necessarily think that that this is going to be a complete disaster. I understand why people are concerned.
Yeah,
but I'm also with you that I think you got to decide at some point. Do you trust Shane Beamer? And I think he's earned it based on the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, and again, I would say this because I want to make it very clear. I mean, I trust Shane Beamer. Does that mean that I think, and he knows this, that I think it's fair for people to be critical of the hire if they choose to be. I mean, it is a risk. It is a roll of the dice. It's not some guy with some glimmering shiny track record that it doesn't give me a bunch of I don't get a bunch of warm and fuzzy feelings inside when I go on social media and I see an article, granted it's from 2017, but talking about him being the worst play caller in the NFL. Like that doesn't exactly make me feel like, yep, I feel a lot better after seeing that. So
I'll say this on that because I just got John Whittle just sort of hit this up on the board. On that same list, guess who was 31? Kyle Shanahan. That year. So there you go with Kyle Shanahan.
And the thing with the NFL too is like, look at what teams he was with. I mean, only one of those teams, the Jets, is doing well this year.
Yeah, and
I mean, it's like you're with these losing programs anyway.
Yeah, but it's like JC
the Dolphins too. I take that back because
it's like JC said, man, Jimmy's and Joe's. So you really feel like if you've got Rattler, Wells, Lloyd back. Boy, it would take a real screw-up job to mess that up, wouldn't it? I mean, it just you feel like it would. I mean,
and the people that knew what was going on with the previous OC that had been griping. I mean, not griping, but expressing concern since East Carolina last year. Complete 180. With what I've saw in terms of like how this guy will run offense and all that and all that good stuff. So. Yeah, I just, I can't. It's just kind of, it's almost funny, Chris, because I sit here and rip the Chicago Bears offense all the time. And here's a guy that was the Bears offensive coordinator for 3 years. I'm like, God,
yeah, that's tough.
Tough. Yeah, I just, and I don't, whatever you do in the NFL doesn't always translate to college, right? So you got some big time, the Jaheim Bell situation. I wanted to get your take on that, to kind of switch subjects to something else that started as a negative, but ended up being kind of a positive because, people started kind of talking about NIL and getting behind it. And, folks I talk to think they're going to be fine at tight end next year. So, but your take on how that all went down.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you live by the sword, die by the sword. It's the reality of the transfer portal and NIL. And, from everything we've seen and heard, I think there were NIL opportunities out there for Jaheim Bell. And obviously the season didn't go the way he or his family wanted, but I think NIL opportunities which are out there. And I do want to say this, by the way, because I was, I enjoy talking NIL because I love talking business. I love talking the business side of things. And it's something I don't really get to discuss a lot because we spend so much time talking ball. But obviously, Carolina Rise, Garnet Trust, all the NIL initiatives, I think NIL is great. The only point that I was making yesterday is that it just kind of rubs me the wrong way when a guy like Jaheim Bell up and leaves, and I see some people kind of throwing some shots at, well, it's your fault, the fan base, the common fan, that you're not emptying your pockets enough. And I'm like, I understand what NIL is. I know what it actually is, but it's like it feels weird in the sense I thought NIL was just an opportunity for guys just to benefit from their name, image, and likeness, not be put on a salary. And I understand what it is. I get it. I embrace it. I respect it. You got to pay top-notch dollar for top-notch athletes. And it's really been that way since the start of time. Now it's just in the open. But I just want to make it clear. I encourage Carolina Rise. I encourage Garnet Trust. Obviously, it's a great tool, and it's something that we don't have much of a choice, right? If we're going to compete with the big boys and the top dogs and even have a seat at the table, we've got to make the monetary investment and show that we are committed to winning at the highest level. So I highly encourage everyone to donate to whatever respective NIL collective it is. And so I wanted to make that point. And I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to do so, JC. But yeah, listen, the Jaheim Bell thing, I think there were a multitude of reasons. Again, I think when you just factor in how the season went and the NIL opportunities that he had, and again, we don't know all the details behind closed doors. We never will. But, you were one of the biggest beneficiaries in the country last year from the transfer portal with Rattler and Wells and Christian Bill Smith and Devontae Reed. And so, again, the transfer portal giveth and the transfer portal taketh away. And that's what you're seeing here. And it's not just hitting Carolina. I mean, there's over 1,000 guys.
Boy.
It's just a reality. So, and I really feel for Shane Beamer and other head coaches that have to recruit the high school ranks. They got to recruit the portal. They got to recruit their own roster, and they got to put together packages and deals for current players. And, it's a lot to handle. So, what we're seeing right now is the new norm in college football. And, it was, I mean, we all hated to see Jaheim Bell hit the portal. I mean, he's a good player, and, I think he'll have a positive impact wherever he goes. And that's my hope. I hope he finds what he's looking for. And I hope that wherever he goes, he his true talent is maximized, because I think we all believe that if it is, maybe he's an All-American caliber type of player. But I'm also trying to balance that with 490 yards and 5 touchdowns. That's what you've lost. I think South Carolina will be fine. This program always has been and always will be bigger than one player. So, you just wish him well. And, hey, where the portal taketh, it can also giveth. We could go get a guy. So, and I'm sure we will. I refuse to believe that, Shane Beamer's just going to sit on his hands and do nothing. I know, obviously, from last year, we're going to actively use the portal to our advantage. And sometimes it just happens, man. But the only point I was making on social media the other day is that I just feel like any take demonizing the fan base is a bad one. All Gamecock fans have ever done is show love and support and donate. And even when the product hadn't been there for over 100 years, outside of a handful of seasons here and there. So, like I said, I totally encourage NIL, all the collectives, respectfully donate, give money, do what you can. But, a guy like Jaheim Bell, he left on his own accord, man. I think Gamecock Nation did about all they could to keep him around. But it's, at some point, listen, I believe in NIL. I don't believe in making bad business deals, man. I said that. And, at some point, if a guy's asking for an unreasonable number, this is turning into somewhat of pro sports when it comes to those contract negotiations. Like, hey, Dansby Swanson wants too much money. The Braves ain't going to re-sign him at shortstop, guys. There's going to be another guy that comes through. It's the nature of the beast. So,
dude, yeah, and I think just from my standpoint with Carolina Rising, it has grown, and I don't ever shame anybody, man. It is like I said, some folks can't afford to do it. I mean, what do you want to do? Not buy tickets and give money to no, I get that totally. It's like I said, some guys get $5 a month. 3 of them signed up for $5 a month. That's what 15. Blah, 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 blah. You get it's almost $200. I had to cut an NIL deal. I did cut an NIL deal with with a player because he needed money for books. You know, he's a walk-on guy, and this year, and did a good job promoting the product, and you know, and that covers that. That makes sense. So it's not. You know, people kind of look at the 10 million and all that, and they get overwhelmed. But man, I think we're finding out with what's happening at Miami and A&M. You spend that much, man.
Right.
You're not going to win. You got to play a little bit of money ball, like you said. Yeah. Oh, if you want to go chase the dollars, we got this guy here that's just as good. That's probably going to work twice as hard. You know, to make this team good.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree with you. And again, it's and it all adds up. Like you mentioned, even the people giving $5 a month. I mean, again, you get 1,000 people giving $5 a month. I mean, that turns into a significant number. Yeah. So, I mean, no, it's, you know, we put together all we can, do all you can. And I think at the end of the day, we'll be fine. I think we've got the resources and everything to compete with the top dogs. But, you know, I also said too, man, on the flip side, at the end of the day, you either want to be a Gamecock or you don't. I mean, that's just like bottom line in the discussion. If it's only about money to you, and I've said that since the jump with NIL, if it's, you know, because people have talked about it's going to ruin recruiting, and no doubt it changes it, but there was money being exchanged before. But if a kid is solely focused on money, if that's the only thing he cares about, I don't know how badly I want that kid anymore, guys. I know you got to put up with certain things. Listen, I got a buddy of mine that works on Georgia's staff in a support role, and I won't say his name or anything, obviously, but you know, he's told me all the time. He's like, Chris, you know, some of our best players are the biggest knuckleheads. We got to deal with all kinds of stuff. Some of them guys you see on TV, but you just live with it because they got immense talent. So, I mean, there's things you put up with and you deal with, but at the same time, man, when you're trying to build a culture and you're trying to, you know, build something where it's about love your brother and, you know, all togetherness and all that, and you know, you pick and choose kind of who you want on your roster and in your building. And, you know, again, Shane Beamer's in control of it all. I fully believe that. So you got to trust in Beamer at this point, and he'll put together the best possible roster to get us where we want to go.
All right, Chris, we're going to let you get out of here to get your show up. Looking forward to joining you later today and talk a little ball. And hopefully things kind of calm down by about 1:15 and all that.
Yeah. You know, I was going to say, guys, believe it or not, hot or a breaking piece of information. I'm very high energy, but I'm also a very calm Zen dude, I feel like, behind closed doors. I know that's hard for some people to believe. So I try to, maybe I can just instill, maybe we'll do some breathing exercises when you come on, JC. Something. Do some meditation or something. I appreciate you guys.
That sounds good, Chris. Thank you, bud. We'll
all right, y'all. Take care.
Yeah, man.
SC Alumni says coaching hire is more important than NIL. Yeah, but you don't, you know, NIL, you know, what you got. Coaching hire, you don't know good or bad. And I wish they hadn't made another hire where you got to sit there and you don't know for 8 months. We got to take a break real quick and then come back.
Just as your State Farm agent combines good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates, you can combine your home, auto, life, or small business insurance with Tony Pope State Farm Insurance today. And guess what you'll get? That's right, even more good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates. In fact, Tony Pope State Farm is your go-to agent anywhere in South Carolina, North Carolina, or Georgia for the service you deserve at the price you want. So try combining your home, life, auto, and or small business insurance today. Tony Pope State Farm has been in business for more than 30 years and can handle anything you need in the tri-state area. Once again, Tony Pope State Farm will help you mix and match perfectly. Call 843-851-2222 or visit TonyPope.com today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Whoop, easy. He's got a tiger by the tail, he has.
He better hang on too.
People have spoken. Nana's Porch was voted the third best food truck or trailer by the Charlotte newspaper Public Poll. Also, their pimento cheese took third in a contest exclusively for products made in the state of North Carolina. I will let Noah Hall tell you about the rest. Nana's Porch, Southern cuisine with an uptown twist. If you're in the upstate of South Carolina and are in need of residential real estate services, Cindy Bass Searfoss of Caldwell Banker Kane is for you. Ask her about the Village at Creekside, all of her listings in my hometown of Spartanburg, South Carolina, right there on Daniel Morgan Avenue, married to a lifelong Gamecock fan. And many of our listeners have already bought homes from her and been 100% satisfied with the detail and care she uses. Cindy Searfoss, 864-414-5271, Caldwell Banker Kane in the upstate for your real estate needs.
This is Braylon Wimmer, South Carolina Gamecock Baseball, and you are listening to Inside the Gamecocks, the show with JC and Phil. Go Cox!
Welcome back to Inside the Gamecocks, the show, everybody. Brought to you, by, of course, by Express Sunrooms in Columbia. Give John Barber a call, 803-446-4662. Second hour of the show, which we're going to call this starting 4 minutes early, is brought to you by the Burgesson team at Remax at the Lake. Give Adam or Derek a call or shoot Adam an email at aburgesson, that's ABERGESON, at remax.net. And let's see here. The chat box is blown up. We appreciate all of y'all coming and dropping by today. Give us a thumbs up on YouTube or Facebook, wherever you are watching us live. Subscribe as well. Doesn't cost you a thing. Just mash that button as well. That helps us out immensely. Thanks a lot, y'all. Happy to have you here.
I Dig Music says, look no further than UGA's scheme to see what Beamer wants his identity to be. I don't know about that. I think definitely, hey, look, Marcus Satterfield's offense, and I'm talking the one that with the different personnel groupings and stuff. Georgia does a lot of similar stuff, but they call it so much cleaner, and their personnel usage was so much better. And they're a big physical football team that has always been able to run over, around, and through most opponents, even when they weren't winning national championships. So I don't know. I mean, I think Beamer wants it to be a little more like the last 2 weeks of the season, but with more of a running game. And I think that everybody, I mean, you'd have to be blind to not see that made a big difference for Spencer Rattler. And I think too, you know, I'll say this: there is no tomorrow in college football. If you know, some people are, why base this, you know, long-term decision on, you know, 3 guys coming back? Well, you don't know if this is a long-term decision, but you know, if you can get those 3 guys back, you got to and add some pieces through the portal, avoid attrition. You have a chance to have a special season. You know, and I think Shane Beamer knows that. So I mean, you know, coaches do make bad hires, right? And I'm not saying it's good or bad, but they're not lunatics, right? They're not out there like not facing reality, even though most of them in press conferences these days, I think, have checked out of reality. You know, they don't say much, but and that's most of them, not just Shane. But I think that right now, with the momentum the program has, because somebody said the OC hire is more important than NIL. Well, than NIL maybe, but probably not. You know, not long term, but right now, yeah, it's probably more important to talk about it. I'll say, but nothing's more important than those players coming back next year.
Yeah,
because you know, if you have a good OC, but you're kind of trying to rebuild, this league is very unforgiving. You know, people that I trust swore me. I mean, nobody knows if it's going to work out or not. You know, nobody said this guy's going to light it up, but they said it's not going to be anywhere close to what Satterfield tried to do. And so I think we can all have hope in that one, right? Even though, you know, I agree. Cam says resumes speak for themselves. They do. It's hard. I can't, you know, after ranting about the NFL, you know, and how NFL stuff doesn't work and all this stuff. And what I meant by that was not the plays that they run. It's the approach to the game. And that was the problem with Satterfield. You know, he had 1 million plays and he tried to pick and choose 25 different ones, the play of the week, and try to fool people. And sometimes you just got to line up and say, our players are better than yours, and we're going to go after you. And you know, or we're going to go after you, and we can live with you having better players than us, but we're going to attack. So U-Hop says resumes speak for themselves, and we heard many of the same things. about Sat when he was hired. You didn't hear it from me. Because I said Satterfield's going to be this hybrid of Lincoln Riley and Joe Brady, man.
Because we had not much else to go on, and that was how it was billed.
Yeah, and you didn't hear me say it doesn't matter. I mean, you did hear me say it doesn't matter what the Panthers did on offense in the NFL as far as Satterfield goes, and guess what? It didn't. Probably what people should have looked at more is what happened at Temple way back when. And then the fact, he couldn't get out of his own way, overthought the whole thing. And so everybody I've spoken with would be shocked if Dowell Loggins approached it like that. The one thing I don't know anything about is him calling plays in the game, reading the defense, getting the right play in, all that in college, because there's no track record at all.
Right. Yeah. That's the scary thing about all of this is like, here we are, another guy. But this is even less of a track record than Satterfield, is that we really don't. This guy has no college play calling experience, which I think makes a lot of us very nervous.
Yeah. Carolina Titan says Sat had great players with some college coaching experience. This guy has little coaching experience and a bad NFL resume. I don't get it. Well, he didn't. Well, players, your part about players needs to come into the fold here. I mean, I don't know what kind of personnel the 2013 Titans or the Bears during that time, or the Dolphins or Jets. And it seems to me it was with Adam Gase. It seems to me Adam Gase had some pretty terrible teams. So, Clint says this is why you don't hire him to begin with. Look, I'm not sitting here trying to get a big pitcher of Dowell Loggins, right? And open up your throat and say, here, you're gonna
trying to pour it down. It's just
drink
like
this delicious Dowell Loggins. Oh, drink it up. Ooh, refreshing, isn't it? Come up. Go Dowell, have some more Dowell Loggins. Oh,
you need this.
You need this. Dear God. I'm not trying to do that, fellas, ladies and gentlemen. Here, have some. Pour. It does sound like this, like an Irish beer. Sometimes when I get back from
a pint of Dowell Loggins.
Have a pint of Dowell Loggins, will you?
Pour me a pint of Dowell Loggins.
Shut your ass and have a pint of Dowell Loggins, son. When I get home from the tater farm after a long day of picking taters, I like to sit by me pub and have a nice cold stout Dowell Loggins. I said cold. They don't drink cold beer over there. A nice stout Dowell Loggins. Oh, you want a Dowell Loggins, do you? Well, I did. I do want a Dowell Loggins. Give me more Dowell Loggins. That would be a Scottish guy. I want more. I'll have another Dowell Loggins, if you will. All right, sir.
That's great. I don't know. I'm trying to think about all kind of different reasons, like why make this hire, why not hire one of the big names. And we're not in Shane's head, so we don't really know. But maybe one of the things is because I'm running through all these scenarios in my head, right, JC? And it's like, well, maybe Beamer doesn't want to hire like Riley or Bryles because they're probably a 1-year rental. And then you're doing this all over again.
I'm with you there. I mean,
continuity's sake, you go with a guy who, could potentially grow and stick around with you. Problem with that is he's like using all of his built up goodwill to ask the fan base to get behind this 100%.
Chuck Burkett said, I think Bush from SDS just started a shitstorm, and it's the Beats BS wagon. Chuck, I hate to break it to you because here's why I believe it's going to happen. It's a little something called, I don't know, positive feedback in the face of negative feedback, maybe. In other words, I don't even think there's any kind of positive feedback if it weren't going to happen. So that's the deal there. Now, look. Could it be someone else? I'm certainly not dismissing it, and it'd make my life easier. I mean, I don't, You know, I wear a lot of hats, folks, and one of them last night I had the information. I don't want somebody else to put it out there, and everybody's asking questions, so I had to act, and I put it on the message board. I had to, I just had to be a reporter and report it. You know, I didn't want to give any commentary or anything like that, or get into a debate with anybody. So. Jeff Fowler says, Dowell Loggins, the best way to spread Christmas cheer is singing loud for all. No, I don't know that was a Dowell Loggins deal. That's the
that's
deal
from
there.
Elf. That's what that is. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
From Elf. I'm sorry. Rack the Jibber says, is there urgency to finalize the hire with him so he can bring some of the tight ends from Arkansas? I hadn't heard any of the tight ends from Arkansas coming. Does Trey Knox have eligibility? Because I'd certainly take him.
Yeah, he'd be an addition we'd take. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I think Trey's from Tennessee. He's not in-state. Hard to get in-state Arkansas kids out of Arkansas sometimes. But Dwayne says, could this be a lot about recruiting also? It absolutely is a lot about recruiting. And to this guy's credit, right? Okay, so and I forget the X's and O's, forget the disappointment that he doesn't have a big track record, because I don't like to say name, because I always say don't look at the name, look at the production, right? Well, there's no production at the college level, and if the optimist would look at the NFL stuff, and if it was good, go but so anyway, so you look at that. It's to this guy's credit, and I've covered recruiting a long time. And know, follow recruiters, guys that can recruit. A guy that spent his whole career in the NFL, that comes back, albeit his alma mater, and is that good at recruiting, that's rare, honestly. I mean, I've never. So how does this feed into hope? Well, that part of the college game is not easy to adapt to if you're used to coaching pros. Like the recruiting part. Some coaches just get down there like, what am I supposed to do with this kid, and talk to who, what, parents, who, what? This is a circus. This is a circus. Oh, God. They're throwing papers and shit everywhere. But there's a small percentage of them that get down there and go, and I know some guys like this. They get back and go, you mean I get to pick my team, and all I have to do is convince them? We don't have to, now with NIL, maybe you got to, figure out the money in. But I mean, you mean me, the coach, not some general manager guy? I get to just go convince these guys and choose, who I want. I'll sign up for that. What? Here, give me some. Give me a map, and it used to be a map, and now it's a GPS. Now tell me tell me where to hit. And he's been a hit. I mean, yes, get it, and that's something that's not debatable, because there's a track record there for 2 years, and you guys trust Trey Biddy to talk about Arkansas, don't you? He knows what's going on in Fayetteville. I talked to Trey, talked to everybody out there. They think he's just an amazing recruiter. Amazing. They use the word amazing. And I think that is amazing if somebody spent 10 years in the NFL and that side of it. And there are some guys from the NFL that do get back and go, this is pretty easy, because there's no egos, or there's no, and it's fine. So that's the deal there. And I'm not sitting here, in a fairy costume, jumping up and down on the cloud, trying to find a silver lining. Okay. Although that would be hilarious. I'm just sitting there trying to kind of, because everything's got strengths and weaknesses, right? Every coach in our has strengths and weaknesses. Even Dowell Loggins, right? And the one thing I will say is that's an unprecedented 2-year recruiting track record at a place in Arkansas that's not a difficult sell, but a pretty difficult sell. So he has had to sell, and for a guy that's been in the pros 10 years, I mean, to get back and kind of in this day and age with recruiting, yeah, that's not easy to adjust like that. So if you're an optimist, and like I said, I'm being a realist here. If you're an optimist, you're going to look and go, well, if he can adapt to that part of the college game, which sometimes is more difficult than the X's and O's, actually, for coaches, then he could probably adapt to the other parts of the college game. Now that's the optimistic viewpoint, right? I'm not pouring Dowell Loggins down your throat, folks. Just kind of pointing that out, because that's something that is something that is the truth. Excellent recruiter. That's a big part of it. Now, the flip. See, the other part of this, Phil, is with every kind of positive thing, there is an answer, and it's not necessarily Shane Beamer's fault. It's kind of just because of the recent 10-year history of the program. So you say, well, Connor Shaw likes him, but Connor Shaw also liked Kurt Roper.
Right.
Well, that's a good point. I trust Connor's opinion. I know why he liked Kurt Roper too, and I agree with him. I would never argue with that guy about his X's and O's and football and all that. And I trust him, and so not everything always works out, right? But so people respond with that. Well, he's a great recruiter. Well, Satterfield was a great recruiter. So you just, it's just like you're just like, oh man, you just can't win. I mean, it's like, it's like, and it's not anybody's fault. So let's see here. Dowell Loggins. He kind of looks like Houston Nutt in the face, like a shorter Houston Nutt.
Like a shorter Houston Nutt.
So
he's a little guy, right? He's like 5'6". Yeah.
Yeah. So his all-time is he's got 2 4-star tight ends committed in his career from Arkansas and Oklahoma. This guy, by the way, I think does have some ties to the state of Oklahoma. Shamar Easter is an in-state kid, 6'5", 225. He's got a 4-star athlete from Tulsa, Oklahoma, Booker T. Washington. Got a high 3-star, 6'7" edge in Quincy Rhodes from North Little Rock. That guy's not going to be fun to block. And I bet this Quincy Rhodes Jr. guy, you'll watch the Hogs here in a couple of years, and he'll be a 6'7", 275-pound monster for them. By the way, they lost their defensive coordinator yesterday, Barry Odom. I can't believe
UNLV.
Dude, and UNLV was about to hire Coach O.
I thought so too. Oh,
could you imagine the fun we would have had with that?
The endless summer would just continue.
To Vegas. All right, we got to load up the endless summer travel van. All girls go in the front, all boys in the back, Coach O in the middle. Make me some peanut butter and banana sandwiches. Give me some lube, and away we go. We're going to Vegas. Could you see that?
Oh my goodness, that would be great. The fodder would be awesome to feed the show. Creativity would just flow.
If you're UNLV, I mean, and they make atrocious football hires, by the way. If you're UNLV, they've tried everything. If you're UNLV and you have a choice between Barry Odom and Ed Orgeron, what in the interview did Barry Odom do to blow Ed's personality away? Because Barry Odom, hell of a football coach, kind of a salt of the earth type of guy, not as exciting as plywood, in terms of he made, some people don't. I always thought Will Muschamp was pretty entertaining and demonstrative, but some people thought he was boring. Well, if you thought Will Muschamp was boring, Barry Odom is it is a instructional video on how to stir water compared to like the Tonight Show. Okay, so that's the deal. I can't believe that, but Arkansas's lost that. So that's Dowell Loggins. So those are the guys that he has gotten, and that's in 1.5 recruiting cycles. And all of them are 4 stars. There's one high 3-star that's a 6'7" defensive end from North Little Rock, who, if you know anything about guys that have those dimensions from North Little Rock, I mean, I think I'd probably take them, So, yeah, and for a guy that's, and like I said, I trust Trey Biddy on Arkansas probably more than, there's only a handful of guys out there that are at his level as far as like everything he says about Arkansas, I trust. And so, he says he's a great recruiter. So that's it. So there you go, Rossi. Ricky G says no production, no name, bad hire. Yeah. Jay Potato Man's parking lot party. Interesting name, sir.
Yeah.
An abject. Well, he's got a plenty of track record. It's just a hideous track record of abject failure. Yeah, but that's the NFL too. And
Right.
like I said, I'd probably be like pushing back on that. Had I'd have pushed back on that. Had there been even if he's like I said, it's someplace like Hofstra, and lit it up there. Hey, Chip Kelly lit it up there. Dan Mullen lit it up there. G.A. Mangus lit it up there.
Do we even have a high school track record to point to
Yeah,
with this guy?
Hey, I'd have been like standing on the table, shouting people down if they'd have hired a great high school coach. I'd have been like, "No, you're wrong."
Mm.
But the NFL, you're like, "Ooh, I don't really know." So even if there's that, there'd be something to point to. So I'm going to say no track record because it's not the NFL, and even if great track record in the NFL, I think some of you guys would be fired up about it, but I wouldn't. I wouldn't sit here and rain on your parade, but I wouldn't sit here and be fired up about it. So I just don't. The NFL track record to me is crazy, and I know it stings a little bit because a lot of this too is, after winning against Tennessee and Clemson and the names that were out there, you're probably talking to your buddies, your Clemson fan buddies, and be like, "Yeah, we're going to hire Kendall Browns. We're going to hire this guy," and then you come back and like, "We're going to hire Dowell. We're going to have a Dowell Loggins."
Dowell Loggins.
Who? So anyway, VJ does point out Loggins runs a lot of read option plays with an emphasis on play action and a rushing attack that relies on cut black lanes and ISO blocking plays. That's a college offense.
That's right. That's
but that's probably going to fit Luke Doty a lot more than Spencer Rattler. But that's a college. If that's what he runs, great. That's not a pro. That's nothing. That's not read option is not a very popular pro style unless you have Justin Fields and God. Everybody at the bar when watching the Bears, Phil, it's like he's going to get hurt soon. Yeah.
He's going to get hurt. It's unsustainable.
Unsustainable. And this guy's like Michael Vick reincarnated. Like, yeah. Is he hurt yet? Yeah, beef sandwich. I after hanging out up here, and then it's like Gamecock fans. I'll never say you guys are miserable again, ever. Yeah. All right, so. Got to be careful about making coaching decisions based on continuity. The Mark Richt era began to unravel when he kept Willie Martinez at DC. That's true. Happy says, well, all the incredible Mattis available, and this guy pops up. Looks like a weak choice to me personally. I understand that. I'm not expecting anybody to stand up and go, bravo.
Nobody's on the table, just extolling the virtues of this guy. However, cautionarily, not every big name that we've heard thrown around was A, willing, or B, available. Just because they're a big time offensive coordinator, a few of those guys might still be where they are next year.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's the thing too. I'm with you there. It's just not. That's the thing. Stacy says, if he was a Browse guy without the NFL history, how would we feel? Interesting concept. I don't know. I don't think he's going to run Kendall Browse offense, but that running game kind of sounds a little like Kendall's. 76 says he looks like Pat Oswalt. 76, do you remember when he was the OC of the Bears? I wasn't following the Bears at that point in time. Let me know. And you got to send me your address because I got you something Bears related. And he says Pat Oswalt's who he looks like. I don't know. I think Houston, that's a good one. Why does it seem like our richest alums are silent on the NIL front? Houston Texans owner. Well, he passed away, man.
Yeah.
McNair, CEO of United Airlines and Supreme Court justices. Who's a Carolina gal in the Supreme Court girl or Supreme Court? Or are you talking South Carolina? Let me know, Sonder. Oh, no. Speaking of wealthy alum, University of South Carolina has 700 alums worth $50 million or more. I got that piece of information from a marketing company that did some work with USC at one point in time about scholarships a long time ago. And so that was a long time ago. Gamecock fan says, do you think Beamer talked to Browse about Loggins? No, I don't. 8GM2 says, I will miss pouring it on Tennessee and beating Clemson if those things don't continue. I think Tennessee loses a lot of players next year. Clemson comes to Columbia, so we'll see next year. I mean, we'll see what happens with the transfer portal too, because I think Tennessee had such a good year that they're going to, with that offense, they'll be a pretty attractive destination. Plus, they got about $20 million in the collective they can spend across all sports. Going back, Jay Potato Man's parking lot party. Well, it's just we all have, and it's bad. Even one season in friggin' high school would have been something to go on. Yeah, it's all we have. You're right. Jay Potato Man's parking lot party. It's like Brother Love's Traveling Salvation Show.
That's right.
Jay Potato Man's parking lot party show. Pack up your ladies and drive the old ladies. Could his offense have evolved because of his time with Browse? Yeah, I think honestly he's with Gase so much he's probably Gase's offense he's running or something, or maybe his own. So it'll be a tiny man on tiny man action when Godwin tries to out scheme Loggins. I don't know how tall he is. I know he's not that tall. Jack Game Fan says he is Jacksonville forgettable, at least to watch. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he gets on staff, starts recruiting, and he calls it. I'd love nothing more than for that to happen and Carolina go beat Notre Dame, and there's something to go on. Now,
and then it comes out and it's like, yeah, well, that's your dose of Dowell Loggins.
That's Dowell Loggins Bowl. Hey, dude, here's what's going to happen. Here's my prediction as to what's going to happen. We're all sitting here acting like the Sunday after 63-17 in 2003, or the Tuesday after Clemson won their first national championship, or name your horrible loss, the Florida Line. We're all sitting here, and that's the feel. That's the vibe. Fast forward 1 year from now, we all got T-shirts with his face on it and a little 4-leaf Gamecock clover. We're like, Dowell Loggins Ball! Ah!
Loggins Ball!
Because the Gamecocks are in the playoff, and everybody's heading to Phoenix or the Rose Bowl or wherever, and everybody's like, yeah! That's what's going to happen, man. Because it's just such a weird hire. It's like, well,
I know.
Sometimes these things work out, and it's different. It's different than the Satterfield hire, in a lot of ways. I mean, people have to keep in mind Satterfield said he was like an NFL guy, and he'd only been up there for a year with the Panthers as the assistant offensive line coach. It's like, it's like going and being the assistant key grip in a movie and coming back and be telling everybody back in the community theater, this is how De Niro does it. Oh, yeah. I brought him his coffee one time. He told me everything. All right, so we're going to, and then you try to tell the community theater peeps that just do it for fun and for, to get out there in the community. And I've done some acting myself, and I'm really proud of myself for doing it. And then you get there and he gets in her face. And he's like, this is how De Niro does it. Method. And they're doing method acting and breathing exercises that don't work. I mean, that was the Satterfield era, folks. That was it. You had a guy that got a taste. He got just a little taste.
This isn't Pippin in summer stock.
This isn't Pippin in summer stock. And he comes back home and it's like, Hollywood comes to, Buntville, Missouri or wherever, or Buntville, Kansas or whatever, I'm going to tell you folks, because I'm Hollywood now. Oh yeah, definitely Hollywood. So that was what that was like. This is more like Gary Busey. No, Gary Busey's a pretty good actor. Who is a terrible
I couldn't even
actor.
get the mute on that one.
Who is an actor that's just bad in Hollywood, that's not very good, but he's in a lot of stuff and people tend to like him.
It's got to be like one of these new musicians that are starting to pop up in movies.
Yeah, those guys,
it's something like that. It was like, man, this kid hasn't done anything yet.
This guy's gotten a lot of work. You know what I'm saying? And he's been at the highest levels, gotten the big time jobs, but hadn't always done it. You know, maybe he's like, I don't want to name a superstar because so many people like. But, you know, I never thought Keanu Reeves was a very good actor. In fact, I thought he was terrible. Yeah, Steven Seagal. Rick Young brings that up. Yeah, he's probably, this dude's a lot like Steven Seagal, you know, kind of big thing going. You know, he's got some cult followers. And then he comes back, you know, home and kind of is playing the local. Dwight Yoakam, Frank says.
Dwight
yes.
Yoakam, yes.
There you go, Frank. There you go, Frank.
Yeah, man.
Jim says Keanu Reeves. Yeah, he can. I don't know. Look, when he did Shakespeare, remember he did Shakespeare with Denzel that time? He's like, art thou, dude?
Yeah.
Oh, but he was the evil guy. And like, oh, those you know. Denzel Washington, masterful in it. Kenneth Branagh was in it, for God's sake. Emma Thompson. And here comes, bro. Now, that said, many of his films are among my favorite, namely Point Break.
Exactly right.
Point Break is one of my favorite movies of all time. I mean, really. Of course, Patrick Swayze was and all those other guys. But anyway, so that's kind of what this is. So it's a little different than SAT. When you talk about the NFL kind of deal, I think so. You got to kind of, you know, to everybody's different. Like I said, all right, we're overdue for a break. Jim says, "I am an FBI agent. You got a good job." And then Swayze comes back and he's all Swayze like, yeah. He's like, I can't handle the cage, man. He's great. And, look, people, look, you gotta get down, bro. He's not coming back.
It's not
anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, so let's get a break. We'll be back. Hey man, are you sick and tired of your business computer guy?
Yes, he takes forever to call me back and doesn't always respond to the requests.
Yeah, same here. I'm paying him good money. I constantly have issues, and I'm worried he's not backing up my network and securing it properly.
Oh, I feel that, man. My head hurts, but I have a good lead on a good idea. I'm calling your boy Matthew Odom today from Heritage Digital. Heritage Digital is an IT firm that specializes in making sure your IT network runs like a dream. If you have 1 or 500 employees, it doesn't matter. They do it all for one monthly fee and have clients from South Carolina all the way to California.
Yeah, I heard that monthly fee's low too, so I don't know why I didn't even think of that. Do you have 843-699-1001 is Matt's contact number?
Yeah, man, I sure do that. Or you can go to heritagedigital.com.
Man, I hear they do a no-cost assessment. Boy, this will help me.
Yeah, I bet.
I'm getting on that and encouraging everyone else to do the same. Heritage Digital, 843-699-1001 or heritagedigital.com, a proud sponsor of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
You can't handle the truth.
Gamecock Nation, do you need a place to stay for the big game? Many hotel booking engines keep all the commissions, but at Fan Plans, you support Inside the Gamecocks, still earn your hotel loyalty points, and you receive an email with direct confirmation from the hotel. Whether you are visiting Columbia to cheer on Carolina or hitting the road to follow the team, get in the stands with Fan Plans.
Yep, time to get back to the show. Shoot. All right, my man.
Welcome back to Inside the Gamecocks, the show. JC Sherbert, Phil Molinax here with you. Second hour of the show, rather. Man, it's been flying by here. Imagine that. But brought to you by the Burgesson team at Remax at the Lake. Give Adam or Derek a call or shoot Adam an email at abergeson, that's ABERGESON at remax.net for your commercial or investment real estate needs.
Yes.
And, JC, looking ahead to tomorrow, our title sponsor, John Barber.
Bigger news to come.
Bigger news
to come. So.
He will be in. I'm sure he'll have some stuff to say about this.
Yeah. Hey, Adam chimes in. He goes, had a friend's wife who moved back to South Carolina from Charlotte, and she acted like she was born and raised in Ballantyne, and I was looking like, aren't you from Edmond? Hey, don't knock Inman now, man. That's Spartanburg County, man. We got Lake Bowen up there. Part of it, most of it's at Bowling Springs there.
Bowling Springs.
Springs. Jim says, "Answer the phone, clown." That wasn't my. I don't think that buzzing was on my end.
No, that was me. That's my fault.
Yeah, that's I don't know what Dina says. Maybe it's clown. Maybe it's something we can't repeat. Maybe it's honey, sweetie. I don't know.
Yeah.
Dean says Dowell will not be our next OC. Hey, look, unequivocally, about 3%. I said there's a 3% chance to maybe take another direction, and maybe it was you read the room a little bit. You're like, man, not sure I can do this.
Maybe I don't have enough.
To
make this move. Yeah.
It's kind of like when you forget you spent something and you go check out. You're like, I'm getting $3,500 TV, but you forgot you spent $1,000 at the strip club the night before. And so you go put your debit card in. Like, no, that was shit. And you're checking your balance. It's like, oh man, there's 16 ATM trips between the hours of 1 and 2. 75 bones each. Wait a minute, no, I had to get
it right in that sweet spot because you started at 11. You end up hitting your daily max, and then it rolls on over into 1 o'clock, and it lets you do it again.
Yeah. So look, it's like. I think that you hit your max, and it's like I said 75. I meant you got to get it in multiples of 20. So I'm in 80. And that's it kept going on and on and on. So Ed says, dude will end up being a prodigy OC, and then we'll leave to go back to Arkansas. Yeah, we'll have to get rid of all our Dowell Loggins locker gear and stuff. There is a marketing. I mean, dude, that guy's got a unique name. And a kind of a unique look, kind of like Pete Limbo, right? Unique name, unique look. Limbo. The law firms of Limbo, Loggins, and White would like to tell you.
Limbo, Loggins, and White. That's another thing. I don't know. I mean, Shane Beamer's hired 3 coordinators, right?
Yeah.
2 of them were good. One of them is, freaking amazing. And then the other one is like, all right, that guy from Western Kentucky is not bad. So, just because it's offense that he's replacing, and he's replacing somebody who was basically a trash can. And I don't know. Here's the other thing, JC, we have a head coach here. If his name were Shane Smith, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he had the experience that Beamer does. What do you do there? What would the fan base say? It's like, if his name weren't Beamer, he has 0 coordinator experience, 0 head coaching experience.
A lot. The Beamer thing, and I don't think he's got the job because of his last name. I
don't either.
I think it made it easier sell to people who are out there who would have been like, who?
Yeah, we were celebrating this guy who had not done this before, right?
Yeah,
we were happy. It's like, yeah, wow, great, because we remember Shane was here during the heyday of Spurrier. It was like, and he's a hell of a recruiter and all of this, and you know what? That's good enough to let's go.
Yeah, let's get behind it. Yeah, and I know, and that's and that's the thing. It's just one of those things. Dean says he's putting it out in the universe. What's it called? It's like that. What's that philosophy called? The
manifesting. Yeah, manifesting.
Manifesting. Yeah, there you go. Manifest it. Put it out in the universe. Clint says, hopefully Shane is reading this room. Joey says, apparently Shane was looking for Black Friday OCs. That's funny because it's not Arkansas, Missouri sometimes gets high scoring, but most of those games they play on Black Friday, like Nebraska, Iowa, not exactly juggernauts going up and down the field. Not on that day. Oh, Jim says Loggins' offense will be called Footloose.
The footloose
The
offense.
footloose offense. All right.
Brought to you by Dowell Luggins.
We got some branding going on here. Frank chimes in and goes, happy hour with Loogie and Limbo. Loogie. Limbo. Chuck goes, breaking 107.5 Beamer presser at 1. No. Jay Potato Man's parking lot party says, wonder what circumstances when the 97% not come to pass. Basically, Loggins pulls out. Nah. It's not as far along as contracts or anything like that. It's just, I think there would have to be a changing of the mind on one end or the other. How does that sound? And I'm not saying that can't happen. I mean, maybe there's another guy that maybe, I don't know, speculating here that maybe a little bit ahead of him on the list that seemed iffy to begin with, and then comes back around and goes, hey, I'd like the job. And, he was up there. Rack the Jipper says, was Loggins always high on the list, or did it take this because of many rejections? He's always high on the list. It'd be easier for me to sit here and say, well, shoot, nobody wants to go to South Carolina, so he worked his way down and had nobody else to hire. That's a little bit easier to explain. So, Happy says it kind of seems like Mark Satterfield in disguise. You're sure Beamer hadn't put on a wig and mask and sneaking him back in. It'd be funny if we lived in a bizarro world where just anything could happen. Those dinosaur costumes the kids wear that kind of have the floppy, they look there. The head is up top.
They got the little fans in them.
It's like,
yeah.
And Beamer Sapote, he was like, this is our new OC Dino. He was with. He dropped the thing. He was with the Flintstones back in the prehistoric era, and Nose Pebbles and Bam Bam, and it comes with their highest level of recommendation. Anyway, Jake says, "Is that a Lockport visor I see there, JC?" Yeah, I live near with Lockport. Our kids go to Lockport High School, and I like the helmets. I may get a Lockport helmet one day and put it back there. They're friggin' sweet. Because they're the porters, and they have like these anchors on either side. They don't look like Vandy or Navy. They're very, very unique. Won the state championship last year. I think they went 500 this year. So it's a big, good school. It's a lot reminds me of Dorman a little bit, but in Chicago, there's probably 25 Dormans around in the suburbs. Ryan says, is this Beamer installing his own offense and DL is his yes man assistant? Nah. I mean, if you just look at football experience, Dowell Loggins has been 4 or 5. He's got 6 years of play calling experience. So Beamer has none. So and he lets his coaches coach. It'll be his offense, but we'll see how it evolves. I mean, and shoot, I mean, and this is also troublesome because this was supposed to be, win or lose against Notre Dame, a big off season where guys were coming back. The Gamecocks were in pretty good shape and lots of anticipation for next year. Instead, we're all going to have to dig for film on these wonderful 4 or 5 pro teams, and rewatch. And even that way may not be it. So I don't know.
Because I don't think that's going to have any bearing on what we're going to see on the field here.
Yeah, look, I don't think this is DL's as yes man assistant. Now, what will be positive about this is, and I'm sure Shane Beamer being the head coach knows, avoid the pitfalls of what made Satterfield not successful, and do what made him successful the last 2 games. And that's kind of what was explained to me is that the guts of the thing that were rotting the entire offense. Mm-hmm. And it was like wearing clown shoes to a ballet for these guys. I mean, it's like they didn't have the right shoes on and they kept tripping over their shoes because it was like, and then they had to go change shoes. Imagine taking the clown shoes off, putting bowling shoes on, coming back on. Take your bowling shoes off, put some cleats back on, put some tennis shoes on. How about some trainers? Blah, blah, blah. That kind of
stilettos. Yeah.
That's how bad it was. They had more shoes than Imelda Marcos. Half our audience doesn't even know the hell Imelda Marcos
that's
was.
like, who? Yeah.
What are you talking about? The old man Old man, hey,
Yeah.
old, whatever, boomer. I'm actually a Gen Xer and a proud one.
That's right.
I don't like to claim either one of those generations. But yeah, so that was the problem. So I don't think Dowell Loggins has more than a few pairs of shoes, right? You got some boots. You got your tennis shoes, and you got a couple of pairs of dress shoes, maybe some boat shoes, and that's it. Come, Mr. Bigglesworth, get the trunk of magic shoes. We're going to Lincoln.
Let's bring all the pairs to Lincoln.
Shane chimes in, irritable Dowell syndrome.
That was a good one. Hold on. I'm trying to find it again. Yeah. If things go south, Shane has already coined the phrase. Are you suffering from irritable Dowell syndrome?
Oh, hurt me.
Yes.
Oh, hurt me. We got to take our final break. Is the final? Are we the final break, Phil?
This is it.
This is it.
And then we'll power it on home for the last 20.
Somebody on the chat box put Shane Beamer in the danger zone. With Loggins puts you in the danger zone. We'll be back after these messages.
If you're looking to sell or buy multifamily property right here in South Carolina, the Burgesson team of RE/MAX at the Lake can help you get to closing fast and easy. Adam and Derek Burgesson both are very proud Gamecocks and are more than happy to assist you with any of your commercial real estate needs all across the state. You can email Adam at abergeson@remax.net. That's ABERGESON at remax.net to get your next deal underway. The Burgesson team, proud sponsors of Inside the Gamecocks.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
What's up, Gamecock fans? This is Pitcher Noah Hall. If you want some delicious food for your event, I suggest visiting nanasporch.com today to find out what they all have to offer. It's really good Southern cuisine based out of Charlotte, my hometown. I hope you guys go check it out. Go Cox and go Nanas.
I've been expecting you, Mr. Powers.
Sometime in the near future, there's a good chance I'll move back to my home area of the upstate of South Carolina. And I'm going to tell you right now, there's nobody I would use to help me find a new home except Cindy Bass-Searfoss of Caldwell Banker Kane, located in my hometown of Spartanburg, Daniel Morgan Avenue, married to a diehard Gamecock. 864-414-5271. Give Cindy a call. 864-414-5271. A proud sponsor of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it, let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
Hey, Mo Cowboy here from the Carolina Gamecocks. You're listening to Inside the Gamecocks, the show with JC and Phil.
Welcome back to Inside the Gamecocks, the show, brought to you by Express Sunrooms in Columbia. Give John Barber a call. Talk about a sunroom addition to your home, 803-446-4662. And then, of course, the second hour of the show is brought to you by the Burgesson team at RE/MAX at the Lake. Give Adam or Derek a call or shoot Adam an email at abergeson, that's ABERGESON, at remax.net. These are going to be fun. I've seen a couple of these. It's like, yeah, HBC voice here. Ed pipes in. Well, Luke's, shoot.
Shoot. All right. Shoot.
Come on, Luke's.
Jace, Chuck says, JC, in all serious, we can't pull a guy in Johns for Duke in the ACC. This is not, if Loggins is the guy, right? And I say if, it's not, this kind of has to work its way up the food chain too, guys. And in South Carolina, we all know that sometimes things get up the food chain and they ultimately get to the governing body, if you will. And then sometimes things get stopped in their track. Most of the time, It's something that's overwhelmingly positive for the school and program that gets shot down for whatever reason, right? I think that in this situation maybe it'd be reversed. I don't know, but it may not even get that far. But and look, some of these I've read on the site, because I put out yesterday. The players are excited about it. They like this guy, whatever. I'm sorry, and I'm going to kind of defend that reporting there a little bit, because it's like you get players excited by doing this. This is quiet. You don't understand. You're not, nobody, me included, we're not qualified to say what the players inside that building need and don't need, right? Off the field, right? On the field, yeah. And because there's no proof of anything on the field, it's going to drive us all crazy. But as far as like talking about, well, they just get who they want, you have to understand it's a very sensitive time in college football. And I'm not saying that any hire, including this one, is made just because like the players sat around and started chanting, "We want logins," right? And that happened. That's not what happened. It's just a guy they like, nothing more, nothing less. And that wasn't. If this happens, it wouldn't have been Shane's number one motivation. Okay, so just I just watch questioning that and talking that about the players. Another thing I heard is they think this guy can help them flip Lenore Sellers. Very confident about that. So I think just from everybody chill out and give him a shot standpoint, players returning would be helpful. Flipping Lenore Sellers would be helpful. And he's probably going to need to win the press conference for you guys to kind of just give it a shot, because it's just hard after so many struggles on offense to, again, have this where you got to, I have no problem using my imagination, Phil. And I think that's pretty clear if you listen to the show. But man, oh man, I don't want to sit here and have to imagine this for the next 8 months, because most of the time you imagine something and in real life is different.
Yeah, I know. And it is, I think it would settle everybody down a little bit if we were able to pull Lenore Sellers, and Sellers is like, man, this is a great guy. We really need to get behind him. He's the reason that I switched from Syracuse.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I mean, that's at least something tangible. We can say, okay, all right, everybody, just breathe.
Breathe. And I heard with what that Sellers would be a great fit, a match made in heaven with what he wants to do. So that sounded a little bit different than what Satterfield did. All that good stuff. JC can't pull the guy Johns from Duke. Johns is a guy that's been in the mix, but I don't think Carolina's offered him. And it's not, like I said, it's not like all these people turned this thing down, I actually do believe that this is the guy they've zeroed in on. Clint says Stone Blanton's name is misspelled in his ad. Fat finger syndrome, dude, and having to type on a little keyboard underneath my mic. That's I'm sorry. I apologize. I got a text from my dear friend Margot that pointed that out too. She's awesome at finding mistakes. Titan says this is where doom and gloom sets in. We take 2 steps forward and then 5 steps back as a fan base. I don't think you should take 5 steps back as a fan base over a potential OC hire. Okay. I don't. I understand the feeling, because it feels like here we go again. I understand that, myself included. The only thing I said, I didn't even really have a favorite for the job, because I think there's a lot of good ones out there. I just said track record of success at the college level, and it could be D2. It could be, I didn't care, just college. That was my emphasis. So imagine my surprise when I saw Dowell Loggins' resume.
NFL.
I'm like,
oh my God.
This dude's been coaching on Sundays for forever. But again, what could you give you hope was the recruiting part of it, something a lot of ex-NFL guys don't want anything to do with. They get back. I mean, it's as awkward as like, a 50-year-old dad, with jeans or dad jeans on, trying to do something, dance on TikTok. I don't know. Think of something extremely embarrassing. at times. And old NFL coaches that have been in it for a while coming back to college. Well, oh, yeah, go State U, right? Oh, yeah. It's a fish out of water situation. And most of them quickly get back to the league. You know, give me the Browns. I don't care. Just send me to the Panthers. I just anywhere. Get me out of here, man. Get me out. I got to do what? I got to check on their what? Their grade? What? Their grades? What? They go to class? Yeah, I got to get on a plane and fly to a high school? Its cafeterias smell like square pizza and steak nuggets. An old butt sometimes.
I got to go to their home. Where is their home?
Yeah. Well, you know, and it's school. One of the most disgusting smelling places at times on earth is the high school cafeteria, especially when it's packed and it's summertime in the South. He's got to walk in there and give him a camp brochure. He's like, "What the hell? Oh God, what the hell's on that plate? My goodness!" He's just going to like a place down the road in Chicago or Kansas City or someplace called Chachi Steakhouse after the practice every day, and he has 2 martinis and a ribeye, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I coach for the Chiefs or the Bears or whatever." Now he's like old State U down in Mississippi, and he's going into the high school lunchroom and handing off a camp brochure and smelling butt. $1 million.
Yeah. Is it worth it to you?
Yeah. J-Rock says, JC, you coming back home? Yes, at some point. South Carolina Sarah says, my great-great-grandmother was a Mullinax from York County.
Oh.
Maybe related.
Maybe so. There's a lot of us around here.
Yeah, there is. JC, can you hook up Rucker a deal? Saw he tweets the rent is due. Tell him to hit up Carolina Rise.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Corey Rucker's on my list. Money's been pouring in. Jaffaler says, I'd love to hear the Frank Martin debacle where we tried to fire him after 2020. Yeah, we'll get into that this offseason, Jaffaler. It's basically politics, they calls that.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of fun. Bowel log gains. Chuck, the current players' opinions of the OC get taken into consideration. They want somebody that fits them because you don't want to throw like a. And I agree with this. You don't throw a massive scheme change at Spencer Rattler right now. You know, he's finally thriving, right? You don't throw that. And I didn't think they would. I thought they'd, with a lot of the guys that were looking at like Kendall Browse, everybody thinks, well, you need a running quarterback because that's what they did at Arkansas. But Florida Atlantic, they threw it all over the place. I mean, that was the beauty of that because it's very adaptable. And so that is important. I think any coach sits down and goes, well, Spencer, you want to hire his offensive coordinator to call the ball plays. Now, I've never heard that. And I don't think Shane did that either. Surely this old butt as opposed to new butt, JC. I don't know how to really get into old butt, new butt.
Like fresh baby butt. Smell, but
sometimes not, sir. As we all know, maybe like butt, maybe like a meat thing, like pork. An old meat thing, old pork butt. Is that what we're talking about here? I don't know. Recruiting as a tight end coach in this Kendall Browse system is not the same as trying to sell the vision of your own scheme with a product you have on tape. Is it pretty? I don't agree with that because most of the guys he's recruited are at his position, and Kendall uses the tight ends, but not a whole lot.
Where's his college tape? Oh yeah, he does.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not going to sit here and say and tell you that he's not recruiting well because I don't believe that for a minute. And the people that have told me he's a hell of a recruiter in Fayetteville and Columbia, wherever, I believe. Because they're very honest about who is and who isn't good. So I would not, RB, even if you're mad about the whole hire, that's fine. And I ask people to do this all the time. Don't knock things that don't need to be knocked. Okay. There's a set of facts, right? Some are bad facts. They're negative. You should not feel good about them. Some facts are good. Okay. And you have to now that may only make you 10% okay with the hire, and I get it. But let's not sit here and make excuses as to why he's not a good recruiter. You see what I'm saying? Because he is, and I know for a fact he is, and he'll come in here and recruit right away and do a great job, just like the rest of this staff. I've really never had a problem with that. Surely this scoop is a joke. It's not a joke. It's not a joke. I wish I was joking. Be a hell of a joke, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
I would have never put it out, Jolly. If and it pained me almost to do it because I knew the reaction that would happen. Carolina fans are tired of watching NFL schemes of screens with watching the run. Yeah, I don't. NFL schemes are very diverse and weird and strange, and if he comes in and tries to run the Adam Gase offense and just brings the playbook like Satterfield tried to just bring the playbook, and no, it's never going to work. It'll be a disaster, and I think at that point, you've messed up a bunch if you're Beamer. But I don't think they're going to sit there and go, I don't think they're going to allow that to happen because it was obvious what was wrong, and you saw when they pulled the top off the pot, so to speak, what happened, right? You saw what happened. The best 2 weeks in program history, folks. People used to argue with me all the time about talent. Muschamp didn't leave any talent. Beamer hadn't recruited any talent. Beamer just has to recruit. This is a 7-year rebuild. And I kept saying, no, it's not. Here's the problem. And I do think this year's team had a lot more talent than last year's team. And you saw what happened. I mean, Carolina looked like the greatest show on turf against Tennessee. And then, teams don't really sustain that week to week against, especially against a defense as good as Clemson's. But in that Clemson game, your passing offense had to win the game. And for the first time ever in the Beamer era, the passing offense was able to win the game because they shut the run down pretty good. And you need that. You need that. And so if they're just going to continue to do what they've been doing, no problem with that. Because, the calls are the calls. It's really getting your players to perfect it and execute it. And talent overcomes a lot of mistakes. Now, there are some things like decisions to pass on 4th and 1 from the foot-yard line, like throwing a freaking halfback pass to a defensive tackle when you desperately need a touchdown at Tennessee in 20. Yes, there are going to be there, and that's the question you don't know. Is this guy going to be creative? Because Lord knows Sat was creative. He just I think that he tried to almost be too creative. And if you think about when they did strip it down. Then that allowed things like, the pass out of the T formation on 4th and 1, which was a beautiful design execution. I mean, that was wow.
Super creative.
Yeah, but so when you're selective like that, you can't eat too many cherries. Well, you can't put too many cherries on top of your cake. If you have nothing but cherries and no cake, it's not a very good cake. It's just cherries. Hey, Phil. Hey, it's just cherries.
It's just cherries.
But I'm calling
it cake.
It's not cake. It's cherries on top. We got to go pour a tall, cool Budweiser. Clint says him being a recruiter doesn't offset the hire. I know. It's just a positive part of it. So sit Beamer down and make him watch this show. If Beamer is on his way to Charlotte, is there a chance Will Healy is getting a look? His name was out there early. He's never – I don't think he's ever called plays. I think he'd be a great addition to the staff, folks. I mean, you get Will Healy on staff. Let's say Jody Wright went back to the NFL, which, he's got NFL experience or whatever. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but just for example, you brought maybe Healy in as assistant head coach, tight ends coach. He would be really good. So I think that would be good. But I guess Beamer is recruiting. So, Happy said might be a 7-year rebuild now. Sorry, on its face, it just didn't seem like a great hire for the future of South Carolina football. See, this is extreme Triple H.
Yeah.
This does not doom the pro. I mean, it's hey, could it wreck the Beamer era? Yeah. Does it doom the program? And is it going to lean? You know, and here 7-year rebuilds are caused by roster issues, not coaching issues. You know, Muschamp he had certain positions roster issues, but they had coaching issues a lot, and more so injury issues.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how 7-year rebuilds happen. I think it's just not true that, you know, bad coordinator hires can set a program back that bad. Joey G says, you're convincing me to give the guy a chance. At some point, I'm going to ask you guys to give him a chance. You know, I don't think today's the day for me to preach that sermon.
No. Right now, it's like, oh my gosh, this is not what we were expecting. What is going on? And it's perfectly happy to be questioning what's going on. But eventually, if this guy is named our offensive coordinator, we're going to have to get behind him.
Yeah, and I'll say this. Austin says pro-style offense just means too complicated for players who have a college schedule. That's not necessarily the case. I mean, a lot of teams are pro-style and have great college offenses. Baylor's one of them. You know, you have Alabama's offense is pro-style. That looks like a lot of fun to play in, doesn't it? Alabama's offense, it's a pro-style offense. It's just they take all the fun stuff like that Andy Reid and those guys run with the RPOs, and then they just don't do anything else. You know, it's strip it down, strip it naked, strip that thing naked and spank it. Okay, maybe so I don't think 7-year rebuilds exist anymore with the portal. You get a new staff year one. Blind Squirrel says, trust the process. Jay Potato Man's Parking Lot Party says, Loggins hadn't called plays either. No need to use that as a criteria anymore. He hadn't called plays in college, and that was my criteria. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, you're right. I'm going to start calling him Kenny Loggins. Good Lord. Dowell Loggins. That's, Kenny. He's called as many college plays as in games as Will Healy. So you're right. Anyway, extreme.
Hey, Joey, on your Christmas tree cake, I picked up some of that ice cream yesterday. I'm going to try it today. I'll let y'all know how good it is.
Sweet,
nice.
Sweet.
I got it sitting in the freezer now.
So yeah, Joey G says Alabama's offense is in the portal. Bama's is, but they simplify it. That's right, Austin. And that's the key here. I mean, that's not negotiable, right? In my opinion, if it becomes like the Satterfield thing where you're grinding gears, that's not that is a horrible sign. Now, what I was told by people who were happy that there was a change was it's going to be completely different from a teaching and all the things that gummed it up. Because it was never about the actual plays. There were too many of them. It was too confusing. All right, folks. One more thing about Kreger. Phil bought Laagen-Doss ice cream.
Laagen-Doss.
Dude, this is going to be fun.
We're going to have so much fun with
Like I said, we're all going to be sitting here probably wearing Dowell Loggins t-shirts when we get in 1 year from now. We're all heading to the Sugar Bowl or whatever. Like, yeah, Dowell, baby. It's Dowell
Loggins. Get your pint.
RB, I wouldn't worry about the recruiting competition. These guys can recruit. I mean, what do you think they said last year about Satterfield and the Gamecocks overcame that? I mean,
think about all the crap that was talked about Spencer Rattler.
Yeah, I mean, I don't,
here,
these guys can recruit. Recruiting's fine. Recruiting's fine. So it'll be all right. Okay, guys, we're 5 minutes over.
We got to get out of here.
Give me a little bonus here today for Phil Ballnex, JC Sherbert. It's been the big 8-1 hope, faith episode. We'll see you tomorrow inside the Gamecocks, the show.